So, first things first. No album is a classic when it first comes out. Stop. Just because you like the first 3 songs on the album, because that's just how y'all do nowadays, because we're the YouTube microwave, one click, one swipe, left, right generation. If it's the first 3 songs on there, y'all love it. I get it. Those are great 3 songs, but there's 16 more songs on the album. Whatever.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 16 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. I am super fired up about this podcast. Every single day I'm getting so much positive feedback and so many people are interested in being on the show. It's all been really overwhelmingly positive, so I'm really happy that I finally have a platform where I can really, showcase my friends, make new connections, share and challenge my opinions, and most importantly, learn from my mistakes. But this podcast has been awesome, and literally, I just released the first episode 3 weeks ago, so it's crazy that I'm already getting so much support. But that's enough about that. My guest today is my friend Cohan Christopher Scott, but I know him as CC, so if I refer to him as CC, you'll know who I'm talking about, because he's the only guy on this podcast. But CC is a very talented musician. His style is super unique. He grew up in East Atlanta, and then he moved to kind of the plush suburb area in Swanee. And so he was exposed to a lot of different environments and a very diverse musical spectrum. And he draws inspiration from all kinds of artists, from rock, hip-hop, R&B, rap, really everything. And he kind of ties it all together in his own unique style. And I decided to call this episode Inside the Mind of a Musical Genius. And I feel like CC is such a humble guy that he might just kind of laugh at the title. But he really is a musical encyclopedia as far as modern day music. And compared to everyone on earth, he really is someone I would consider a musical genius. He could talk about music for hours and hours, and we literally did. But his knowledge of music is amazing, and just seeing him talk about his passion, his eyes light up, and you just know that he's in the zone when he's talking about music. From production to the industry to the culture, he's just deep in it, man, and he definitely knows his stuff. And during this podcast, we really dove deep into a lot of subjects, including his upbringing in extremely diverse situations, like I said, growing up in a musical family, his musical influences, his opinions on the death of the album, what it means to be a musician and a creator, the culture that's tied to music, and at the end we kind of talked about the hot button subject of cultural appropriation and how we can combat that as a society. Pretty cool stuff. But during my editing process, I realized that there was this kind of little scratching noise on CC's track. And while we were recording, CC had his hair down, and I did notice a few times that his hair was touching the mic, kind of scratching against the mic. And so I'm 99% sure that's what that sound is coming from. I tried my best to fix it and repair the audio, but I'm still pretty new to this, and I couldn't really get rid of the sound. It still persisted. But I just wanted to address the situation rather than just ignoring it and pretending like it didn't happen and hoping you don't notice. But I want to be as transparent as possible with this. So luckily, it's pretty minimal, and I'm probably making a much bigger deal about it than it really is. but I just want to deliver the highest quality product that I can, and hopefully you can look past the crackling and focus on the conversation, because it was one of the best podcasts that I've had so far. So without any further ado, here's my podcast with Cohan Christopher Scott. All right, CC, we're live, sir.
What's going on? How you doing?
Good, man.
Good.
So your real name?
Cohan.
Cohan
Scott.
Cohan Scott.
Absolutely.
And the middle name?
Christopher.
Cohan Christopher. Okay,
Cohan
that's where that's where the CC comes from. Makes sense.
Yeah. Then now, put it all together now. It's
there
like,
we go.
Oh, yeah.
Brain blast. That's awesome. So CC. I like to start off a lot of my podcasts with kind of giving some background on whoever the guest is. So kind of like, where'd you grow up, background, give us the kind of 0 to 60 of your life and some milestones. Yeah, exactly. And some milestones and whatever.
Okay. So Atlanta native. Grew up in Gwinnett County most of my life. Areas like Lawrenceville, Norcross, Swanee. My family moved around a lot when we were younger. We actually stayed on the east side in Stone Mountain for a little while too. So shout out to all my east side friends. I love y'all. Haven't forgot about y'all at all. But yeah, so did that. Came up through the Gwinnett County school system in the 3 different schools. So very diverse background. It was like a mostly Black and Hispanic school. And then transferred over to a mostly, white and Asian school, and graduated from North Gwinnett High School. So thank God for those experiences. It shows in my music.
That's interesting. So you went to 3 different high schools, you said?
3. So I went to 2 different elementary schools and 2 different middle schools and 1 high school. So the 2 middle schools I went to were totally like opposites of each other. It was Lanier Middle School, which is now Lanier High School, in Sugar Hill, Swanee, Beaufort, Georgia area, but I went to Sweetwater Middle School, which is in Lilburn. So if you guys are familiar with Amigos, that's their area. That's where they're from. So I actually went to school with a few of the guys in their crew. So it was very close related. Every day at school was a fight. It was drama. So it was kind of tough. You had to be tough. Then transferring over to like Lanier Middle Schools, it was not so tough. It was more relaxed. So greatly appreciated that. But just background in a nutshell, and I guess when the podcast continues, we'll get into like influences and how I cream them all together and all stuff.
That's cool. That's really cool. So are your parents originally from here? Are they from?
So my parents are from Alabama, from Lower Alabama, LA, the real LA. Lower Alabama. My mom is from Daphne, Alabama, and my dad is from Mobile, Alabama. And it's a country mouse, city mouse relationship. My dad was a musician. My mom was a musician. My mom was raised in the church. My dad was raised in the clubs. So it's a storybook tale.
That's interesting. But they were both musicians.
Right, and
that's
Daphne,
really cool.
If you know about the area, Daphne, Alabama, and Mobile, Alabama are across the bridge from each other. So it's like 2 different worlds across the bridge from each other.
A tale of 2 cities.
A tale of 2 cities, right? Absolutely. So
that's cool.
They met through there, and so that's where they're originally from. And my dad always likes to say that you got voodoo in your blood, which is basically if you're down by the Gulf Coast, the bayous and stuff like that, you got voodoo in your blood. So
that makes sense. Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So what kind of music did your parents make?
So my dad was a funk guy. He was strictly funk in the clubs of the 70s. Medallia chain, it's got the Black Power fist pick, Afro pick, the 3-button shirt, the taco meat hanging out.
The
taco meat hanging out. And then you had my mom. She was a church musician. She was raised in the church. She was classically trained for music, but then like coming up in the black church, in the 70s, and the real soulful stuff. So it blended very nicely when it got to their kids. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So did your dad play instruments, or was he a singer, or what?
So my dad played guitar and he played bass. He started off on bass, and then he moved to electric guitar. My mom played piano, like I was saying earlier. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So obviously you're a musician yourself.
Right.
And you said your siblings too? Are they musicians too?
Yep.
Wow, that's cool.
So in our household, it was a rule. It's either you play an instrument or you play sports. I just chose to do both. we were all active in some way. My brother played, sports. I played sports. I played football. I played football a little bit in college at Franklin College, and wrestled and martial arts. My brother was a martial arts guy. My brother was that type of guy. And then my sister ran track. My oldest sister, she actually went to Meadow Creek High School. She graduated from Meadow Creek High School in '96. It's way back when. But she was awesome in track. She ended up getting hurt her junior year, and it kind of killed her confidence. But she was on pace. Scholarships. It was a different day at that time. It was a different time back then.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Scholarships worked a little different back then. So, she was on her way, but just things happen. So
yeah. So how many siblings, and are you in the middle, or are you the youngest?
I'm the youngest. I'm the baby.
Wow.
So it's me, the youngest, and it's my sister. She is like the middle child, I guess. She's 27. She's about to be 28 this year. My brother, who's 31, who's also my producer, my go-to producer, obviously, because we grew up in the same house. And then my oldest sister, she is actually 40 this year. So
wow.
So yeah, it was.
So there's a pretty big spread.
Pretty big spread, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
How young were your parents when they had your oldest sister?
So my mom was actually 17.
Wow.
My mom was 17, but this is before she met my dad. My dad and my mom had my brother when my dad was 30-something. And then just so on and so forth. Actually, it's funny because my brothers and sisters used to say I was the mistake because it was supposed to be the last one. My sister, who's 28, was supposed to be the last one, but lo and behold, I'm here. So it is what it is.
No mistakes.
No mistakes. Not
That's
in
cool,
God's
man.
eyes.
By the way, if you need a water, I've got you some water there too.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that before we started.
Oh,
it's
man.
always nice to get some.
He's got the greatest accommodations, I tell you.
But so that's really cool, man. So that makes a lot of sense now why you're a musician. You've got that cool background and stuff. So then when did you kind of start coming into your own as making your own kind of style of music and stuff, as opposed to just taking music lessons or learning from your parents or whatever? So
great. That's a great question. To kind of give a background story about how I got to where I am musically, I've kind of I'm a guy of analogies and metaphors. I like painting pictures. Obviously, when you songwrite, you have to kind of do that.
That's perfect for a podcast.
Right, right. I like painting pictures. So when we moved to Suwanee, Georgia, from a lower income neighborhood, God blessed us with an opportunity to move to Suwanee, Georgia. Mother and father, this is pre 9/11. They hit gold, being entrepreneurs and doing their thing. So we got a chance to move out to Suwanee, Georgia, and it kind of changed our perception of how things were supposed to be. But we lived in a 5-bedroom house, and when people ask me how do you blend all your influences together, I kind of break it down in the house that I was living in. So upstairs you had my brother's room. You had me, my brother, and my sister, that's 28, my middle sister, upstairs. So if you were to go across the hall, you had Eminem, you had Exhibit, you had Dr. Dre, you had 50 Cent, you had all these, the music of the then playing in his room. If you go down the hall, you had B2K, you had NSYNC, you had the music, the girl band music of that. You go downstairs to the middle terrace where the living room is and the seating area and stuff like that. You've got my mom cleaning the house, in which she's got gospel playing. She's got Fred Hammond, she's got John P. Key, she's got Shirley Caesar, she's got the Clark sisters. They're playing at that minute. Smokey Norfolk, all them. And then if you go slightly over into the next room, you've got my dad's old funk records. You got Prince. You've got Sly and the Family Stone, Graham Central Station, Larry Graham, Average White Band, the Doobie Brothers, on and on and on. All of that playing. I said Sly and the Family Stone, Parliament Funkadelic. How can I forget Parliament Funkadelic? You had all those people playing Cameo. So that's all in the middle terrace. But if you go down in the basement where my eldest sister lived, you got Neo Soul, you got D'Angelo, you've got CeeLo, you've got Common, you've got Erykah Badu, you've got Outkast, you've got all those Mos Def and Black Star, you've got The Roots, you've got all that playing. So constantly there's music playing everywhere in the house. And finally, if you step outside in the neighborhood that I was living in, you have Taking Back Sunday, Good Charlotte. You have You know, all these
Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco. You've got Coheed and Cambria. You've got oh my goodness, Fall Out Boy. You've got My Chemical Romance. You've got all this stuff going on. You've got Megadeth. You've got Pantera, because their parents are listening to Pantera. Their parents are listening to Slayer. Their parents are listening to all these older Metallica. You got right. You know, Iron Maiden, Twisted Sister. All these are going on. So you've got a good mix. At the time, you know, most popular, Evanescence was popular. Korn was popular. Slipknot was popular. Disturbed was popular. Yeah. So Coheed and Cambria, like all of these bands were popular. So that was me hanging out with my white friends. Like, yeah. So at the end of the day, when I go to sleep, all this music is being pumped through me. So to tell that long drawn out Hobbit style prequel to the Lord of the Rings story, by the way, I have a lot of nerdy references too. My dad was a comic book freak. Love sci-fi. Anyway, all of that to kind of bring around to what I experience now and the life experiences I've had, the tough times that I've gone through, and the music I was listening to at the time. And hip hop didn't always do it for me. R&B didn't always do it for me. You know, it was sometimes the pure rage of a guitar solo did it for me. Sometimes a slow, moody slap bass from a funk guitar put me in a mood. You know, sometimes it took a gospel choir singing in the background of a song. Sometimes it took a suburban white kid screaming out his feelings over a groovy pocket, like Relient K that does I'm begging you, be
That's a great song.
It's a great song. Alien Ant Farm, at slow speed we all seem.
Yeah.
Like, it took those songs.
I always love their cover of Michael Jackson.
Right. Smooth Criminal.
Awesome.
Right. So it took those songs. Hip hop didn't always do it for me, but yeah. So that's just how I.
That's really cool.
Be me, yeah.
So that's kind of how you blended everything. You had those crazy influences. Mm-hmm. That's cool. When I think when you were kind of bringing up all those bands, like you're saying the suburban white kid thing, you know what's crazy for me is a huge influence on my musical taste at that point in my life was Guitar Hero, which is crazy. That's
crazy you say that, because and I think it was 98, 99, my oldest sister, she if it wasn't like Pac or Big or Common, Erykah Badu at the time, it was three people. It was Phil Collins. She stole it from my dad's. Right, she would go to if you guys are an old school FYE, FYE the CD store. She would go there and she would buy new records every Sunday. So it was Phil Collins. It was one more guy, Phil Collins. What's his name? I'm forgetting his name. I'll come back to him. So the major ones, Phil Collins and Incubus. So that was when Stellar first came out. Yeah. Like 98, 99. Stellar was booming. Oh, I'm sorry, Matchbox 20.
Gotcha.
Because my dad was listening to Carlos Santana, so Matchbox 20 at the time was just like the ocean under the moon.
Yeah.
So that was
a great song too. I forgot about that.
So Matchbox 20 was doing a lot of stuff with Santana at the time, which my dad was listening to Santana, and it kind of all made sense. But it was Incubus. So when you bring up Guitar Hero, I completely forgotten about Incubus. Completely forgot about it, besides Stellar. And Stellar comes on in Guitar Hero while we're at a party, and I realize how great of a song Stellar is. So this time is the start of the YouTube age. So I go back, I listen to Morning View, I listen to Light Grenades, I listen to all these things, and I'm like, wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is great stuff. So, yeah.
And that was like right when the iPod was like first coming out too.
Absolutely.
So like everyone was like ripping like LimeWire, you had YouTube and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And that was, before streaming, so people would actually take pride in their music library.
Yep.
And like I feel like that's completely been lost.
Absolutely. I feel like when I brought my iPod out to connect to the cassette aux cord back in the day, I was like, y'all have no idea what's about to happen to you, because I've got so much good stuff on here that y'all are just going to... Man, let me tell you, we were hanging out in high school. This had to have been 2007. And I was in a real... From 05 to 2017, just because they're just my favorite band of all time. But strong, 05 to 08. I was in a strong Coheed and Cambria phase. Strong. Like, I could listen to them all day. And we were riding around, just a couple of my friends, and they were listening to whatever they were listening to at the time. It was real when T-Pain was hot, when Wayne was hot, when T.I. was hot. Everybody on the Swagger Like Us song was hot at the time. You had Jay-Z, you had Wayne, you had Kanye, and you had, that was and T.I. So that's what they were listening to.
Drake came into that yet or not yet?
No, Drake was 09.
Okay,
Drake was 09.
So I was going to say, what was that one song that Drake and Wayne and T.I. and all of them were on? I can't remember it.
So there was a song that Drake, Wayne, Eminem, Kanye were on. That was Forever.
What? Forever, that's the song that I'm thinking of.
Right,
it's
Forever.
Not T.I. It was Kanye.
Yep,
That's what it was.
Kanye.
Forever. That was the song I was thinking of.
Yep. So
that was a good song.
So I'm riding around with them, and they're listening to where they're listening to, and then it got to a somber song, something that I can deal with. That, everybody was just kind of just having it as background music, and I turned on one song, and I knew it would get at just who I was riding with. You always gotta know who you're riding with. So I knew if I just turned on this one song, like these suburban white kids would be like, "Why do you have this song on your iPod?" It was Creed, "One Last Breath." The whole car broke out and "Please come here, we can fall in, no, what I think is it." Yeah.
White people love doing Scott Stapp's voice.
I'm damn nowhere with arms wide open. So I broke that up. They were like, "Dude," crowd went crazy.
That's hilarious.
And I love that Creed song, man. I love that Creed song. I could listen to that song for "I'm 6 feet from you and nothing can." Man, that is the jam right there,
for sure.
Boy. Oh my God. So yeah, just music is definitely something that I've, always been delved into. I can tell you, people always ask me why I have such a good memory. Is because I can tell you what song was popular at the time.
That's interesting. And you just proved that when I was asking about the Drake thing. You're like, that was 09, that was with this guy.
Yep.
That's cool. So obviously you've got that, it's just like ingrained in your brain.
It's just great.
And you kind of mentioned too that your parents are like entrepreneurs. What do they do? What do they do for work?
Okay. So my dad worked in import and export. He dealt with shrimp for a while. He dealt with two imports. He dealt with shrimp and he dealt with beer. So he had a company called Big Apple Beer, and then he was actually working for a shrimping company down in Mobile. So he was doing that, and then he fell into, when he was younger, he was doing the import and export with like shrimp and the beer and things like that. Around in the late 80s, early 90s, it was a big market. Everybody was trying to get a beer out there somehow. It was a huge market. So before then, he had made some connects in like Japan, China. He went to just all over the world, made some connects. So he kind of fell into like the cementing thing. So before he knew it, he had a contract with Bronner Brothers, which was a company who had Upscale Magazine. And Upscale Magazine is a popular African-American magazine back in the early 2000s. They're no longer, I think Jet may have bought them out. But so he was doing the cementing for their building. So that contract took off, especially at the height of the Upscale career. So that took off. My mom worked in human resources, but she was an HR manager for NCS Pearson, which if you look in your textbooks, ladies and gentlemen, NCS Pearson is on most of your textbooks. But they also have a branch in the government in which pre 9/11, it boomed after 9/11. But she didn't finish college. She just, made contacts, read a lot of books, fell in with the right type of people, played at the right churches, met the right church members, who put her on to this one, that one. And she ended up at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport for 4 years, rebuilding a TSA program after 9/11.
Wow.
So
that's actually really interesting.
So yeah.
That's cool. And I was asking that too because also, I feel like you definitely have that entrepreneurial spirit, and I feel like also as a musician, you kind of have to have that. You have to have it. Absolutely
because
have to have it. You're selling yourself. You're selling yourself. You're selling your brand, all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, 99% of people are employed by someone else, and
True.
Typically people grow up in a household where their parents are being employed by someone. So it's cool that both of your parents were able to be entrepreneurial in that regard. Yeah. That's interesting. So, so you were kind of saying that your brother was your producer and stuff.
Yeah.
And then when did you guys start collaborating and making music like on your own rather than just kind of
with the family?
With the family or taking lessons or what, or whatever.
So, my brother in high school, my brother was the fast talking, fist fighting, rapping guy. He just loved to rap. And this was like when battling for when Scribble Jam was popular. This is before 8 Mile, y'all. So 8 Mile kind of brought everything to light. But as a huge battle rap fan, I just need to educate you guys. 8 Mile wasn't the first. Scribble Jam came before 8 Mile, in which Eminem battled at Scribble Jam, and that's where 8 Mile's story came from. So Scribble Jam was popular. So my brother was battling him and who is my bass player in my band, Gravity. His name is Bebo, Brian Bowens. They were like best friends in high school. So they would rap and, they would do their thing.
Where were they doing these kind of battle raps? Like at house parties? It was
at house parties that my eldest sister was dropping him off. And like, this is like right at the Nokia phone age. Like it wasn't even, it was Motorola. Motorola, I can remember this like it was yesterday. Motorola had a phone. And if you old heads out there, you 28, budding 28 and 29ers out there can remember, Motorola had a phone that Carson Daly was promoting. And I remember sitting in my living room and watching this commercial, which Carson Daly was promoting, and it had that Madonna song, really popular. Music makes the people, na-na-na. Had that song. Again, music telling me, so it was popular around that age. So all that to say this, my sister had one of those phones, and my brother had one of those phones. And my brother would always be late when my sister went to go pick him up. Always be late. And she'd be like, what is he doing? So, she would just go into house parties. My sister was hood, so my sister would walk into the house party, move all these little teenagers out the way. And my brother would just be rapping guys from across town, battling guys from across town. These guys that, drove up from, Decatur to come battle, you know what I'm saying? And my brother would just be in the middle of the party. Somebody would be beatboxing, and he would just be in the middle of the party just rapping. So that's what he was doing. He started doing it at football games on the bleachers. You know how kids used to hang out on the bleachers. Yep. And then the Too Cool for School high schoolers would hang out on the bleachers too back in the day. So my brother was one of those guys. And I would go down and I would just sit there and watch him. Sit there and watch him battle. And after a while, after he gets older and, all that stuff kind of goes away in his interest, he starts going down in the basement where my dad's guitars are. And he starts learning how to play bass. He starts learning how to do all this stuff. So I was just sitting around and I start picking up battling. And anybody knows from me back in the day, I would battle anyone. I would battle anyone. And I was it. That was what I was doing. So, and I was freestyling. No writing, I was freestyling. So all up in the top. So just freestyling. I was maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, just going to high school football games, and my brother would be battling, and I would be like, yo, bro, he's weak. Let me battle him. Stop him. Let me battle him. And all my friends can tell you guys that's how it was. Even until I was late into high school when people thought I lost it because football took over, and we would be at some place or somewhere, and these people would just be rapping outside the building, and I'll just go in. So after me watching him and him put together sounds and downstairs he would my dad was producing an artist at the time. His name was T-Mac, and T-Mac had a Korg Triton keyboard. If you musicians out there know what a Korg Triton is, had a Korg Triton, and you can make beats off the Korg Triton. It's not like now you can make them off the laptop or your computer. The Korg Triton had the floppy disks, and you would plug them into the back of the Korg Triton, and it had had a sample kit, like your drum kit, and then you would record on a floppy disk. You put the floppy disk into a computer, you would mix it and master it, and then you have your beat, So he was doing that. So I would go down there, listen to their sessions. My brother would write raps, I would write raps, and then before we knew it, my brother was rapping on these beats, and he would learn how to play the Korg Triton or make his little beats or whatever, and from there it just kind of took off. So it hasn't stopped since then. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it was your dad's, one of the guys that he was producing had the
Korg
keyboard.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's really cool.
Brought it over, left it over the house.
Nice. So then you guys were just sick. We've got this dope keyboard that we can make beats with, and then that's
the beats were horrible too.
I'm sure they were.
The beats were horrible. It was
I'm sure.
I tried to be a little Bow Wow. because that was so popular back then.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, there was like a beat, and I can remember my opening bars to the beat. Like the beat was so whack. It was like do 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 do. I thought it was the best beat ever, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, welcome to Atlanta, Peach State. I'm the only one my age that can reach this rate. Like I was like, that's my opening bars, like to the song, and I was like, I had the whole vision in my head of me wearing a headband and my afro out, walking through like Atlanta. It was cool, man.
That's
cool.
awesome.
It was cool.
That's really cool.
What?
So like in high school, you kind of started. Is that when you kind of started like really getting into it, or like when did you kind of start putting out music, or just getting more serious, or whatever?
So in high school, it was all football.
Gotcha.
And everybody knew I loved music, which was, one thing. And I would freestyle before like every football game. It was like a tradition. Like if I didn't freestyle, we were going to lose. And if you knew North Gwinnett back then in 06 to 2010, we didn't lose. So like
it's true.
Like we were nasty. So if I did freestyle, we were gonna lose. So everybody was like, yo, bust freestyle real quick. Bam, did it. But when I really realized that I was like, I love music. Like I need to do music. I went to college, Franklin College in Indiana. Shout out to my Naptown boys. Went up there, played ball, got hurt. Ankle broken. Mother got sick. She has multiple sclerosis, so mother got sick. I was away from home. Didn't want to be away from home anymore. I was hurt. It was just all a bad situation. Met some great people up there, and I would have stayed for them had things been a little different. So moved back home, and like I was literally sitting in my room because at the time I wasn't in school, so I was just working at Swanee City Hall. God bless me with a great job over there, like being like cool. A secretary's secretary. But it was still like $10 an hour. Like it was nice. Still, God bless me with that job. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, dang man, like I need something to do. Like I need to gym, I need to work out. I still want to play football, blah 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 blah. Those types of things. And I noticed how like my brother, he had some unfortunate situations, but my brother had moved back home. And he was really taking this music thing serious. And before I left for school, I'd actually hooked up with my partner in rhyme right now. I call my partner in rhyme. I actually hooked up with him and Chad Jarrett.
Nice.
So I hooked up, shout out Chad Jarrett. Shout out to Wool, too.
I was going to say, I was about to bring that up in a little bit.
Wool Brothers. The Wolves. Anyway, so, and I've known Chad since I was 7. So, but anyway, hooked up with them before I left. We were making music, made a song here and there, and and you're in high school back then. This is like Facebook era. This was like, before Instagram, before Twitter and all that stuff. Like right as Twitter was coming on, but
MySpace.
Nah, it was well after
past?
MySpace. Yeah,
okay.
it was about 2 years past MySpace.
Okay.
But like, everybody's still looking for that next like that thing. So me, Javon, and Chad all got together and. We were pretty well-known guys in our schools, so like everybody was wondering what we were doing, and we were just like doing it for fun. But Javon actually went to school for it, and he became an engineer, and he became a producer, and he's a dope rapper. Like concepts are out of this world. So like I went to college, played my football, came back, and noticed that Javon had taken off, just like gone. Engineering skills crazy, raps crazy. My brother was in the room. I linked them up a while ago. They're making music. And I was like, okay, this is still cool. Still want to play football. Like, this is still cool, guys. Like, I'll come in and spit a verse or two, make a song or two. But what made me go like, okay, this is probably what I need to be doing is that if any of you guys are familiar with how the Black church works, we are very music-centric. Our whole service moves around the music. So my mom was choir directing. She was sick at the time, so she had lost a certain amount of pounds. And I remember sitting in the pews. Now coming up in the Black church, you get the Black church experience all the time. You get the music, you get the spirit, you get all of that. But at this particular moment, made me go like, like maybe this is bigger than just my love for music. It's this moment. It's another moment that I won't get into on another time. And it's a little deeper. The waters go deeper, but. this moment when I saw my mom directing a choir, all of 110 pounds, directing a choir, giving it all she had, and the feeling that I had when I watched her do it, and watched my dad backing her up on the guitar, and no matter how weak she may have felt, and what we were going through at the time with the hospital bills racking up, losing our home at the time, like, it was still her wanting to give praise and to formulate music and to sit there and take the time and give all of her energy, the little that she had. I was like, and the feeling I never forget, and it sent chills up my spine, and like, I was like, oh my God, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I can do this. This is football never gave me this feeling. Never gave me this, even though it gave me a totally different high.
Oh yeah.
Totally different high. But like, this gave me like a whoa. So like, I went home, talked to my brother as he was making beats, talked to Javon, and I was like, I want to put a project together. Put my first project together. Drew the art cover. Checked my Facebook. I was like, hey guys, just want to let you know this is what I've been working on. It's 2012. I was like, just something I've been working on. 60 something likes, 67 likes. Okay, get on Twitter. Hey, yeah, well, here's my project. Check it out. Retweet. Like, I'm like, whoa. People want to hear what I have to say. And people who I've grown up with and that know my story, that know our struggles, are like, we want to hear what you have to say. So now it's like, oh, it's done. It's game over now. Like, I've got the passion with gratification. Oh, it's game over now.
That's awesome. We were kind of talking about that downstairs too before we started talking. Like, I was saying, I've been working on this podcast for a couple months now, and to finally have it out, have it released, and have it getting so much positive feedback is like,
oh man,
it's like icing on top of the cake. Mm-hmm. It's like, I already made the cake, but this is just awesome. This is great.
Right. People are like, yeah, like, you never know who's interested,
Exactly, because you've kind of been working in silence by yourself. Yeah. In the studio by yourself. It's not like you're showing people, unless they're coming over, whatever, they're your close friends and you're showing them. But yeah, once you kind of have that release, you just kind of have to sit back and see what happens.
Right, absolutely, right. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. So, so then after that, you just kind of like kept putting out stuff, or what happened?
So, after that, more life happens.
And is your mom doing okay now?
She's wonderful. She's absolutely wonderful.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Praise God. So, after I put my first project out, it was weird. Project was weird. And
weird how? Like, genre was weird, or?
Yeah, it was a genre bender. So my brother calls it my weirdo phase. Like, I was wearing.
What would you describe it as a genre?
Oh man,
if you could.
It was like electro, funk, hip hop, R&B. Like, let me give you guys like what I was listening to at the time, and then you can kind of put it together. So if you're familiar with the band called Little Dragon, I was listening to a lot of Little Dragon. I was listening to a lot of Frank Ocean. This is like so Nostalgia Ultra dropped in 2011. I was listening to Nostalgia Ultra from like 2011 on into like early 2012. And my first project came out in the summer of 2012. So like during the whole making of it, it was like Frank, Little Dragon, Kanye. I was still high off of like Watch the Throne, wondering how they put that together. And then there's this artist called Jesse Boykins III, who I was like, that was it. That was my main man. So like, and if you Google any of those artists, see how they're dressed, that's how I was dressing at the time. Just I'll let you Google those artists. So I was like wearing the wired glasses with the button-up thrift shop shirts, the beads on the was
it buttoned up all the way?
No. It was like half unbuttoned.
Okay. So complete opposite. Opposite.
It was summertime, so complete opposite. So I was just going through a weirdo phase, and it showed in my music. And what I like to tell people, I was like, look, I had a lot of colors, a lot of cohesive colors in my mind, and I just threw them on a canvas. I just threw them on there, and was like, whatever they make of it, ink block test, Rorschach ink block test, you make of it, right? So then so
that was the album art, was just like a crazy splatter kind of thing.
No. So it was called Act One the Capture, and like the capture, I was gonna put it together conceptually like comic book fan.
And with the Coheed and Cambria thing.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. Yep.
Because for people who don't know, Coheed and Cambria, I'm not super well versed in this, but they basically have like for every album, there's also a comic book that goes with it.
Right. So there you go. That's what I was going. I was wanted to be the hip hop funk Coheed and Cambria.
Cool.
So it was Asian influence, a lot of pentatonic scales, a lot of like you get the Asian-y vibes through it. So the album cover was actually a drawing of a bear trap trying to trap a heart, and it was like by all these different calligraphy and artwork. Kayla Jones actually helped me put it together. So I doubt Kayla Jones is listening because she's very hipster. She's probably somewhere hiking.
She's listening to a podcast that no one knows about.
Right. She's like hiking right now. She's probably listening to this, right?
Exactly.
Shout out to Kayla Jones. So, you know, she's out there. Not saying that nobody knows about her, but it's
I know.
You know what I'm saying?
It's new. It's brand new.
Brand new.
It's not mainstream.
She's got it first, hot off the press. So we did the album art, and it was a lot of cohesive colors. Like I was like, oh my god, like the textures in this album were so warm, and they were so like. But then I had like taiko drums, like from Japanese taiko drums. Like I had like, it was like my like, oh man, this is it, man, this is me. Like I felt so satisfied. And then like once you get past the instant gratification and like self-satisfaction, right? I don't know why
satisfaction.
I said that. Satisfaction. That's
it was the gratification that messed you up.
Satisfaction. Anyway, so after you get past that, you start to wonder like, how could you make yourself better? So you have to listen to people. I don't care what you say. You make music for yourself, cool. But at the same time, if you're gonna put it out, you're putting it out for other people.
That's
like,
true.
I hate when artists like, I make I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do regardless. No, you would keep it inside locked up if it was just for you. It's not just for you. It's for certain people you're trying to catch an ear on. So I'll put it out.
I get why they say that, because they're saying like, they're kind of saying like, this is the music I like to make rather than I'm trying to conform. But at the same time, like you said, if you're putting it out, you're kind of trying to...
You're trying to get people on board, right?
Exactly.
So, put it out. A couple months go by. A couple Twitter followers later. I actually had like 2,000 at the time, something like that, which was like a big deal for me.
Yeah.
2,000 at the time.
2,000 people paying attention? That's
right. And it jumped up after a couple of like podcasts, some are similar to this, that we were doing, and like some little radio shows, satellite radio shows that me and Javon were doing, aka Chase Mack, we kind of jumped up. So this is like mid to late 2012. This is like right when Channel Orange dropped by Frank Ocean. So I would ask some of my friends like, what did you honestly think about my first project? And they were like, it's good. There's 2 songs on there I love. 6 songs. They're like 2 songs I love. 1 I'm okay on, and the rest I hate. And I was like,
that's cool that they were honest with you though.
Right. And I was like, really? They're like, it's just too different. And these are like my musician friends. Like, so I could only imagine what like my just normal everyday today friends were thinking. They're like,
it's whack or whatever.
Yeah, kind of like, I'm good off of this, But I was like, but in my head, I'm thinking like, of course, like the way I put the project together, like it's cohesive. It sounds like, you could just listen to straight through, blah, blah, blah. I'm thinking that. But then also my sensible mind goes, they liked one song. What song was that? So I go and listen to that song over and over again, and I go, wow, I get why they like this. So I start to stem music off of that one song. Now, one song, it's like the seed to a whole nother tree. Now, that it doesn't sound like the one song, but it's got elements of that same song. So after the first project, I just started making a lot of records. Now, just to fast forward a little bit, I was coming out with a project, an album, and it's cool I get to talk about this too. Really quick.
Of course.
I was coming out with a project called Memories Divide. Now, Memories Divide, I will say in a nutshell that it was too big for my britches. Way too big for my britches. Which is okay, because
in what way? Like too much work, or?
It was time consuming, ate up my pockets, emotionally crazy, frustrating. It was everything that I wanted it to sound like, because the songs that I have for Memories Divide right now, that a lot of even my close friends have not heard, I'm like, oh my God, like, yes. But the perfectionist in me was like, you need horns, you need violins, you need transitions, da da da. So I spent 3 years of my life trying to make the perfect Cohan Scott album. Like, and by the time I got to the end of it, I had grown so much.
Mm-hmm.
I had grown so much, and my producers had grown so much. Shout out to Midwest, my god brother, and Cash Chase had grown so much. Javon had grown so much. My brother had grown so much. I was like, this sounds old me. Like, this sounds like an old me. So when I release it, it's gonna be like, oh well, job well done. I finally released it, but like, it won't feel like where I am now, because there's a lot of songs in Memories Divide that like I was in a place. Like, I was in a place, and like I will release those soon. Like, what I'm planning on doing for Memories Divide, I'm planning on it was a 12 song album. I'm planning on breaking it into 3 sections called Broken Memories. So watch out for that. So yeah,
Memories Divide, Broken Memories. I like that.
Yeah. So Broken Memories 1, Broken Memories 2, Broken Memories 3. So that'll be really soon. But that's not my main focus now. I've grown so much, and I've got other stuff that I was like, once I finish Memories Divide, I'm going to put together an EP with Javon Chase Mack, because that's like my brother. That's like who I started with. And I realized the years went on that I had not done an EP with this man, and he's helped me out so much. So I was like, you know what? Let's start doing that. And okay, so I've always wanted to do a project with our collective, who, shout out to Worldwide Wonders. It's my brother's group. You got to check those guys out. They're dope.
Worldwide Wonders?
Yeah, Worldwide Wonders. They're super dope. They've got a little following now, which is crazy. You wouldn't see them at A3C, and like people were like asking them for their autographs. It was weird.
Whoa.
It was weird.
That's cool.
So then I was like, oh man, I want to put together a project with my collective, Worldwide Wonders, John Ave, Cadis Hines, and I want to do that. But then I was like, after Memories Divide, because I need to get this done. Push it out another 6 months. So like all these things I'm pushing out because of Memories Divide weighed on me so much, and I didn't have the time and I didn't have the money to kind of do it how I wanted to do it. So I was just in this creative frustrated space, where like more stuff would pop up in my head. I would hear more stuff, but my brother lived across the town. I couldn't get to my brother. I couldn't get to Midwest, and I would just let it sit on me. So by the time I got to the studio, it was like creative vomit. And I was like, this sounds nothing like what Memories Divide sounds like. So I just decided to be an adult about it, and was like, you know what? When I'm finished with it, I'm finished with it. But I have to move on.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to move
on. Like you were saying, as far as it was costing too much money, was that like you were having to pay people to get studio time, or were you?
So studio time was the biggest thing. It was the biggest thing because relationships and here and there, whoever I do record with, they're always accommodating. If not, I would have done it by myself. And those guys who I do work with in the studios and things like that, they're very good, very, very dope, and they're very good to me. So that wasn't the problem. When I say money, it was the taking off of work to do music. And it was some of the sessions. It was the mixing. Like they were like, hey, we'll run your sessions. We'll do a light mix on it. But
for people who don't really get what that means, so what is that exactly?
So mixing is like when you hear a song on the radio, that is its final mix. That is, it's like you hear every instrument, you hear every harmony, you hear every vocal. It's clear, it's crisp, it sounds good. That's because of the mixing and mastering process. When you go to record, and I would say this for you guys that have voice memos on your phones, sing it to your voice memo on your phone. You're going to hear your microphone doing all that. You're going to hear that type of stuff. But the mixing cleans that up. And you may have a good mix, a rough mix. And a rough mix is basically like a rough draft. A rough mix that sounds really good. But like as a musician, you hear like, well, maybe those drums need to come up a little more. Maybe those hi-hats need to come down a little more. Maybe these chords need to be played a certain way. I need to go sing that again. So,
just kind of like adjusting the levels of everything,
right.
tweaking everything,
right,
until you get that final version.
Right. And for those who know like programming and stuff like that, with the technology nowadays, that can get so tedious.
Mm-hmm.
It can get so tedious.
Even just me editing a podcast by myself, I can taste a little bit of it.
Yeah.
And even getting like the mastering right, like the final version, a lot of times people will put out podcasts that are way too quiet.
Yep.
And so like you got your phone all the way on full volume and and you're like, this is just too quiet, I can't even listen to it. So
right. Absolutely.
And I've been a pretty avid listener of podcasts for a while, that I've kind of known that. So when I started making mine, I'm like, the first one I made and exported it, I was like, this is way too quiet. I've got to figure out how to fix this.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're not doing that for yourself, like it can be very tedious, and it's a very expensive process.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
Losing out on money going to work or not going to work to go to a studio, I was still hourly employee, and so losing that and then having to pay for the right sound, there's no return profit. There's no return profit. So you get yourself deeper and deeper and deeper, and just because your creativity is just so big and that you want it to be so right. So talk to my god brother and talk to my brother, talk to everybody I could talk to, and they were like, our advice to you, scale it down.
And just do like 3 chunks, like you were saying. That's cool. Scale
it down.
So one thing that I thought was really interesting is you keep talking about like projects, releasing an album. And some people nowadays would kind of say the album is dead.
It's dead, yep.
In the fact that an album should be, in theory, one piece. Like you were saying, you should be able to listen from beginning to end, and it feels like one cohesive piece of art that has been thought out and planned out.
Right.
And nowadays everything's about the streaming. No one's getting albums. No one's going to FYE and getting a CD and listening to the whole thing over and over.
Right.
What do you kind of think about that, and how do you feel about that? Because obviously you're still kind of trying to put together.
This is a great question, man. So a lot of people will say the album is dead. Now, let me go ahead and kind of get comfortable in this.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure you have a lot of opinions about this.
Oh my God. So, first things first. No album is a classic when it first comes out. Stop. Just because you like the first 3 songs on the album, because that's just how y'all do nowadays, because we're the YouTube microwave, one click, one swipe, left, right generation. If it's the first 3 songs on there, y'all love it. I get it. Those are great 3 songs, but there's 16 more songs on the album. Whatever. That's the first thing. The second thing, yes, I do think singles are important. I do think singles solidify where an artist stands. However, singles don't show enough growth for me, just as a music lover. I can point out many of my favorite artists' singles that sound like something that they would put together 2 years ago, because it's a single, because it's something that, hey, we know you like this sound, let us try to replicate that sound for this one song. So yes, I do believe that the album, quote unquote, is dead, but that's because we've killed it. And it's not, it's not the overall, how would I say, the powers that be that have necessarily killed it.
No, not at all. Because I think if the industry had its way, it would still be in that kind of album thing.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think it's them that have killed it, even though they found a way to monetize our murdering of the album.
Totally.
But I think that with YouTube and with all these different things that come out, you're hot one minute and you're not the next. There are some artists that I've told people last year that they will not be here this year. And in a personal conversation, I can tell you who those people are, and you'll be like, wow. And I can tell you who their replacement is. Because of the single generation, because we singled ourselves, we only want that one thing that reminds me of that one song and that one party. Rather than what songs reminded me of the time period that I was in, of where I was, what album served me well. And the artists are listening to us. They're not listening to what we're saying necessarily. They're listening to, and this is going to sound weird, they're listening at what we're doing. They're listening that we are watching and listening, are clinging to a similar sound as everyone else. They were clinging to that. So the artists are like, I can put together an album, but I'm gonna make sure these 3 songs pop. Mm-hmm. So what's important to me is I'll never forget the time that my dad put on Stevie Wonder's In the Visions. And from beginning to end, from the artwork to the music to the lyrics, everything was cohesive. And I was like, wow. I'll never forget the time I heard Good Apollo on Burning Star 4 by Cohan and Cambria. From the string opening to the acoustic guitar second track, all the way to the 6-minute long ending track, it was an experience. I was like, oh my God, like, wow. You know, I'll never forget the first time I heard Outkast ATLiens or Stankonia, where, you know, the funky engine that could. Like, that brought it all together for me. So I understand that the album concept is changing, and that's why you have 10-song albums now. Mm-hmm. Because they also understand the album concept is changing. You have 10-song albums with 3 45-minute long, you know, songs, because they understand. So yeah, if you're a single person, you're a single person. I love T-Pain. I think T-Pain is the king of singles.
Definitely.
T-Pain's the king of singles. I never could say that I've liked a T-Pain album from front to back, but T-Pain knows where he is, and T-Pain makes great singles. So I have no problem with giving you the right to like, not giving you, I'm saying warranting you the right to like a single. But all I ask of all music fans everywhere is that if you're a single person, be a single person. Don't have an opinion on an album if you're a single person. Like, know you. What makes us different from animals is that we're self-aware. Be a self-aware person. Say, okay, yeah, I like 1 or 2 songs. But anyway, that's just how I feel about it all.
I feel you. So you're kind of saying, like, if you're one of those people that just wants to pick and choose whatever, okay, I like these 3, but I hate the rest, then, and you're the type of person that's like, I need to like this whole piece of work.
Right, I need to know why track 2 is on the same album as track 5.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
I love Kendrick Lamar for that. I love Kendrick Lamar's September Butterfly, even though all my friends will argue me down about it. But I love a conceptual album, something that goes. I love Drake's Take Care album.
Yeah, that's a great album.
I loved it. The mood it put you in, it was a mood. It was a cloud. It was a feeling. It was something that you walked outside in the morning and there was a big mist cloud at your door. It was like, hey, I'm following you on your way to work. You lived in that cloud. That's an album to me. The cloud may shift and change, it may dissipate, but it's still the same cloud. And after it's done, it's done.
Definitely.
So, yeah, singles don't do that for me.
I got you.
They don't do that for me.
Earlier you mentioned that Kanye was a huge like inspiration and stuff.
Oh, absolutely.
And, you know, I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, have huge mixed feelings about Kanye.
Yeah.
I think I love his early albums, and to be honest, I haven't paid too much attention to what he's done musically the past few years.
Me neither.
But where do you kind of fall on him?
Kanye will always be top 5 to me. Dead or alive, top 5. Kanye is always going to be, other than top 5, he is a musical genius to me. Because a lot of things make sense to Kanye that don't make sense to us. That when it's spewed out on wax, it starts to make a little bit more sense. Like Kanye, I appreciate Kanye for putting together. So you got College Dropout, you got Late Registration. Late Registration is probably 1 or 2 on my list. You've got those 2. Very neo soul, spoken word, hip hop centric. Like Kanye through that era, that 2002, 2003, 2004, 5, all the way up to 08. Like, who puts Mos Def on the same track as Jay-Z?
Yeah.
Like, Common and Jay-Z. Like, or who puts Justin Vernon from Bon Iver on the same track as Chief Keef? Who does that? Who puts Mr. Hudson on the same track as Kid Cudi? Who has, even though he does have writers, It's well known now. But who has Jeezy, Young Jeezy, Trap Young Jeezy, spit a verse on 808s and Heartbreaks, a commercially pop album, but have him write throughout the album as well? So you don't know if that lyric from Coldest Winter is Jeezy's or Kanye's. You don't know if that lyric is T-Pain, because T-Pain had a lot to do with that album too. People don't know, but T-Pain had a lot to do. They give a lot of the credit to Kid Cudi. T-Pain had a lot to do with that album. You don't know who, what, where. So Kanye, and this is what I try to tell people too about classic albums. And then this is where I get into classic albums, the classic talk.
And you mean classic as in, this is like iconic. This is something that's going to last for generations.
I'm going to show my kids this album.
Gotcha.
This is what I mean by it. And this is what I mean. Nothing is, in music, nothing is an instant classic. Because you might as well just call every single out there an instant classic single. It's not it. It's not. It's something that they're putting in front of you at the moment, at that time. And you just happen to be shopping at H&M when you heard it. But Kanye's, okay, let me back up. A classic album to me is something that 2 years later changes the way music is presented to you. So classic albums, most people won't say, oh, 808s and Heartbreaks is kind of like on Kanye's lesser end. Well, I'll tell you why it's a classic. Because after 808s and Heartbreaks, Drake stemmed from 808s and Heartbreaks. Kid Cudi blew up off of 808s and Heartbreaks. You had a more insightful J. Cole after 808s and Heartbreaks. 808s and Heartbreaks birthed a lot of the sound, the distortion, auto-tune. Now you had T-Pain who was auto-tune, but Kanye had distortion, auto-tune, pitch drop. Pitch drop is basically dropping your voice down. Pitch drop, auto-tune with taiko drums and 80s keyboards. So he takes songs out of Tears for Fears, Memories Fade, but the sky still lingers. But he changed it to Memories Fade in the Coldest Winter, and he puts taiko drums around it and sings it in auto-tune. Who the hell is doing that? I don't care if you have Elton John in the studio with you, writing with you, John Legend or Lennon writing with you at the time. None of those guys are sitting down and saying, hey, let's put Justin Vernon on the song with Chief Keef.
Yeah.
That's Kanye. So I appreciate Kanye for that. So when I hear 808s and Heartbreaks, I hear 808s and Heartbreaks, but then I turn around and listen how it inspired, it's not a classic album to me. It has great moments. It has okay moments. Then you have like Lil Wayne's rock album, Rebirth. Never would have did that without Kanye. So Far Gone never would have popped without Kanye's 808s and Heartbreaks. I better find your lovin' or whatever, Thank Me Later. That was a Kanye 808s and Heartbreaks song. Literally, Kanye wrote that song.
Yeah.
So it changed what we think about music. That's a classic. You have Outkast's Aquemini. Completely brought the South up. You put a harmonica solo in a club banger and tell everybody to move to the back of the bus. Like, how southern can you get? How southern can you get? And then the track right after that is Skew It on the Barbie with Raekwon the Chef from the Wu-Tang Clan. So you've got these country, dirt, southern guys that bring Raekwon from the hood of New York, bring him on a southern banger track.
It's the best of both worlds right there.
It's the best of both worlds. And then you have Aquemini. Like, you got Erykah Badu singing on Aquemini. You got CeeLo at his earliest stages singing on Aquemini. Change the way we view. Because out of Aquemini, you have classic songs that have the same feel with the guitar and everything like that as Dro in the Wind by Trick Daddy. Without Aquemini, Dro in the Wind would not be popular. With the chopping, let the sun shine in. That is an Aquemini cut, if anything. Stankonia, same way. Bombs Over Baghdad, who had a song like Bombs Over Baghdad in 2000? Nobody. When 2000 was popular, was Eminem. It was Eminem, Dre, Exhibit, 50 Cent. 2002 was 50 Cent. So you had them, but Stankonia had that. You had Miss Jackson. You had So Fresh, So Clean. Like, who could take that and bring it back and relish in that moment. There hasn't been another person that can replicate or try. There's been many people that tried to replicate a Stankonia album, but Stankonia was a Southern classic album, and that's when you saw Andre 3000 flourish. And we can have the Outkast debate later about Andre and Big Boy, but
yeah,
you saw Andre become Andre at the end of Equimini and Stankonia. Because to be honest, you got a trash can.
Yeah.
To be honest, my honest and humble opinion.
You can just chuck it in there.
No, I'm put it on paper. My honest and humble opinion, I think Big Boy was the more sought out one through the first 3 albums, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, so
I feel like Andre 3000 always had that just totally unique like voice too.
He did, yeah, definitely. And
like I remember specifically just hearing "Hey Ya" for the first time, just that. Hey,
right.
It's just like, what
right.
is this?
Right, absolutely. So like
nothing like it.
No, nothing like it. And Andre 3000 is my favorite rapper, hand to God, my favorite rapper. But I also, I don't want to get into Outkast album. So anyway, I'm not gonna get into Outkast debate. But all that to say this, the Kanye, back to Kanye, and the shaping and molding of a classic album, just hold your tongues for a year. Give me a year. Give somebody a year. Give them a year and a half. And watch how music revolves off of an album. And that'll tell you whether it's a classic or not.
That makes sense.
That'll tell you whether it's a classic or not. Like 2014 Forest Hills Drive by J. Cole. Right? Great album. Love the album. It wasn't my favorite album at the time. That wasn't my favorite album at the time. D'Angelo's Black Messiah was my favorite album at the time, but that was, funk and R&B. But I realized the influence on it had because if you turn around and listen to Logic's album, Logic has like a lot of 2014 Forest Hills cuts off on his album. Just like when Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City.
Yeah.
Right after that, you have Logic's Under Pressure, which sounds like Good Kid, Mad City. And you've got all these different songs that sound like Good Kid, Mad City.
Totally.
So,
that makes sense. It earlier you brought up a thing that you were kind of saying that on Kanye's album, Jeezy was writing.
Yeah.
And I feel like the general public has like no idea about that kind of stuff.
Oh, no idea.
As far as ghost producers, as far as writers, as far as there's are you familiar with Deadmau5?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so Deadmau5, like, he takes huge pride in the fact that he makes his own, all of his music. Stuff, he mixes, masters, produces everything.
Right.
He is skilled in visuals, so in making 3D visuals, so all of his graphics for his shows, 99% of them are things that he's actually come up with on the computer and graphically made. His album covers he's always made. His logo he invented. Pretty much everything surrounding his bodies of work has been all him.
Right.
And for example, when Justin Bieber paired up with Diplo and Skrillex to make that Jack U album, and they had that whole huge explosive song. What was it? Where Are You Now?
Where Are You Now? Yeah.
And he was shitting on them so hard because he was saying, Justin Bieber, all he's doing is singing the words. And that's basically it. He's got a writer that wrote the words for him. He's got somebody making the beats and making the song for him.
I see where this is going.
He's not making any part of the artwork surrounding it. He's the face and he's the singer. Voice. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's talent there.
Yeah.
But he was just totally hating on the fact that like you people worship him as this genius and this god of whatever, but in fact, he's actually only probably 5 or 10% of what's actually even going on with the whole project in the first place.
Right.
And so, I mean, I just, spitball on that because I feel like you have some very interesting perspectives on all of that.
Okay. So we're going to take it way back. So, Michael Jackson's Off the Wall album, produced by Quincy Jones.
Legendary producer. But might not be a household name either.
No. And that's sad. That's absolutely sad.
I happen to know who he is because I remember my
Austin
friend
Powers.
had That too. My friend had Quincy Jones. They had Quincy Jones. I think they're AKGs or something like that.
Yeah.
And so he was like, you know who Quincy Jones is? I'm like, I think so. He's like, dude, you have to look into Quincy Jones. I'm like, okay.
Quincy Jones.
Yeah, legendary.
So legendary Quincy Jones, right? So I think 3 cuts off of Michael Jackson's Off the Wall album was written by Stevie Wonder.
Had no idea.
Can't Help It was written by Stevie Wonder.
That's crazy.
Looking in my mirror. You can go online right now and find the demo track that Stevie made.
Wow.
If you listen to Stevie Wonder's All I Do, guess who's singing background? Michael Jackson.
Really?
So,
is he in the credits or?
Stevie's in some of the credits.
Okay.
But starting out from that base of things, yes, I am a fan of writing your own lyrics. Give me that much. Give me your thoughts on a record. I get that. In the manner of Kanye, and I'm not super opinion on this because Kanye's still a GOAT to me. But in the manner of Kanye, you can watch Kanye freestyle. If you go back to old Kanye, if you go back to his Wildin' Out, where he was on Wildin' Out, and he freestyling Wildin' Out, he's rapping. Kanye is a rapper. Before, if you know Kanye's story, Kanye was rapping for Dame Dash and all these people from Rockefeller, and they were like, all right, whatever, sit down. And then he started spitting hot verses. Kanye ain't had nobody, like back then, he maybe had Rhymefest, who Rhymefest was just kind of like, hey man, throw this line in there, throw this line in there. But Kanye was still an MC. So, yes, I understand when people are like, you're just the face and you're just the voice. That's fine. You know, I get it. Singers are a little different because a lot of times singers only sing for themselves. And if my mom was on this podcast, he would just take the ball from me and run because she's trained singers all her life. She was like, you'll know a singer when a singer can sing with someone else. You'll know how good they are.
What do you mean by that?
So when a singer can sing with someone else in harmony, harmonize.
Gotcha.
And stay in her lane, stay in the pitch and the volume, know when to soften, know when to lighten, and you tell them, hey, you sing this part, you sing this part. Y'all find each other. You'll know when a singer can really sing. So when you say that about the singers that go into the studios, the Beyoncés, you know what I'm saying? They go in the studios and they sing their records. God gave them their ability to sing, or whatever you guys believe.
Yeah.
You know, their ability to sing. Grant them that. Singing is hard.
Definitely.
Singing is hard.
And it takes balls too.
And it takes balls. So singing is a hard thing. Like I try my best at it. I'm okay at it, but there's people that just got it. But at the same time, they don't have the penmanship. Which is okay. We can meet in the middle. Now rapping is different because rapping isn't like literally you are reciting words off of a paper.
There's a skill to the rhythm and the tonality and all that, but not as but part of it is coming up with your own stuff.
Right. And the skill to the rhythm and the tonality of it goes in, like, now think of singing. Singing encaptures all of that too as well. So like as a singer, you were like, okay, you got that. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you got that. You know, after a while, like, no matter how much you train somebody to sing like Beyonce, they probably will never be able to sing like Beyonce.
Yeah.
However, if me and you sat in a room and listened to Kanye all of our lives, we could probably, golly, more of that bullshit ice rap. Like, we can do that.
You could replicate how because it's more or less like spoken word kind of thing.
Right. First with the beans in the backpack. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You can do that. You know what I'm saying? Even when you hear rappers who are influenced by other rappers, you can be like, I know who you listened to when you came up.
Yeah.
Singers, you can do that too, but it's they'll have to try to sound that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So, anyway, but yeah, the whole writing, and I get it, and I appreciate it. I appreciate Prince for it, because Prince was the king at it. I appreciate D'Angelo. D'Angelo's my all-time favorite artist, even though he took heavy influence from Prince. I appreciate him being able to play all the instruments that are on his albums. And I appreciate, Billy Joel, who was doing it too. You know what I'm saying? Like, those classic guys. But at the same time, I do appreciate composership, because a lot of composers can't play violin. A lot of composers can't do a lot of these other things, so they hire other violinists.
But they're the ones still. They're still the visionary.
Still the vision.
Gotcha.
They're still putting Chief Keef on the same record as Justin Vernon. They're still putting Elton John on the same record as Kid Cudi.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes you who you are. Like, I don't care what nobody says. Like, whenever you go back and you listen to some of the Kanye records, some of the people, like, he had Estero on a song in 808s and Heartbreaks. Streetlights glowing. Like, he had that song. Then he had, like, Kid Cudi backing up Estero. He had John Legend backing up this. All the Lights had Ryan Leslie, John Legend, all these people, Elton John. Like, what? Who sits in their room and be like, you know, it would be dope, son, if I put Lloyd Banks on the same record as John Legend, or Charlie Wilson from the Gap Band, put him on the same record as Justin Vernon from Bon Iver. Yeah. What? Charlie Wilson.
Just the weirdest mashups.
Right. Charlie Wilson, a funk legend. Outstanding funk legend. You go to any black barbecue, Gap Band's going to be played. Right? But then you've got Justin Vernon from Bon Iver who's singing Holocene and all that stuff. And then you put them silly little vixen mixes till morning. Like, and you make them sound like a one. Y'all can miss me with the Kanye not writing his shit stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me.
No, you can cuss on here. Oh. You definitely.
Oh.
Exactly. But that's interesting that you bring that up about the kind of like mashups, because also I feel like that's kind of the direction that music is kind of going in, this crazy direction where it's so accessible to people that they can just make it on their computer kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
This poster right here actually is from a movie it's a documentary called Regeneration Project. Have you ever heard of it before?
Mm-mm.
It's interesting because, so it says 5 DJs turn the tables on the history of music. I got the poster up here in my room. And so basically, you've got DJ Premier, Mark Ronson, Skrillex, Crystal Method, Pretty Lights, with Nas, members of the Doors, Erykah Badu, Martha Reeves, Leon Rhymes, Mos Def, Ralph Stanley.
Mos Def.
Yeah, like it's Trombone Shorty, Funk Brothers. It's got like all these crazy influences, and basically what the project is they took 2 artists from 2 completely different worlds and made them make a song together. So for example, Skrillex got paired up with the Doors.
Wow. Jim Morrison.
Pretty Lights got paired up with country artists. It was really fascinating. So
DJ Premier, woo.
Yeah, DJ Premier, he was paired with an orchestra, which was crazy.
Oh yeah.
So like you were saying with the composership, so when you're making music on a computer, you know, you might not know how to play the horns, but you got horns in the song because you can put them in with you know the notes. You don't have to actually know how to produce the sound with the actual physical horn. Now music has become this other thing.
Right.
So one crazy thing that in the part with the Doors and Skrillex, they were talking about how the singer of the Doors, don't know his name.
Jim Morrison, rest in peace.
There we go, Jim Morrison. And they were talking about how he would just come up with the whole songs in his head, and he had no idea how to play any of the instruments.
Nope.
And
James Brown.
Yeah.
James Brown.
And
did not play anything.
That's crazy. But he would just come up with these symphonies in his head and just like, yo, I got this thing, like,
that's a gift in itself.
Or whatever, and they would be able to reproduce it.
That's a gift in itself. That's James Brown. James Brown didn't know what was what, and would go, give me a little bit of that, but that, like, he would speak in a music language.
Yeah.
That musicians, Prince, that Bruce Springsteen, that Michael Jackson all picked up on. Now it's a language. Now give me that. The beatboxing came from
totally
because he didn't know how to play the instrument. So that in itself is a talent.
Yeah, totally.
Because I've been with music. Didn't mean to cut you off though.
No.
But I've been with musicians. I've been with singers who can sing their asses off, but don't know where to sing, how to put it all together. Like, I've literally been like, yo, like, y'all got the vision. Like, you can play. Like, just play. And they're like, I don't know what to play. And I'm like, oh. Like, the first time I had a good friend who could sing. She's very, very talented singer. Brought her to the studio one time, and we were like, okay, Harmonize what you just did. What? You don't hear harmonies? No. Oh, I thought everyone heard harmonies. Nope.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. The concept blew my mind. Like, y'all don't hear harmonies? Nope.
Huh.
I don't.
So like she had the chops, she had the skills, but the creativity side or whatever.
The natural ear wasn't there. It was like, if I told her to sing it, she was singing. She'd sing the hell out of it. And then like I'd be like, that's dope. You know what I'm saying? But now give me a harmony. Now give me something minor. Now like give me some dissonance. Give me a harmony with some dissonance.
And she was just like,
I don't hear harmonies. So I would go in there and lay a dummy track with a harmony, and she's like, oh, you want me to sing that part? And then she'll sing it. We'll have to cut her old part out and have her sing the separate part and then put them together as a harmony.
Yeah.
And it would blow my mind because all my life I thought everyone heard harmonies. No. So just like everyone doesn't know how to put together a band, and there's a lot of rappers right now, it's a trend. So before the trend is like DJ, speakers, like, so if you're going back to the roots, if you're going back, then of course band was what you wanted. Then trap music and stuff takes over, and the bling era takes over. No more bands. You had Jay-Z, you had T.I., you had people who were doing the band thing. You had Wayne that were doing the band thing. But that started to fade away. But now the band is coming back because the kids that came up on the T.I.s and the Kanyes are coming up. You're getting the artists that are our age now that are like, no, I want the band back. But even still, they don't know how to work with a band because they're just rapping. They don't know, like every band has an MD. MD is a music director. Every band has a music director. Prince was his own music director. But like, and I'm not saying that everybody needs to be Prince. But at the same time, like, you got to know that like there has to be a difference between your track. You may produce your track, but there has to be a difference. There has to be a live difference. A feel. Like if you go back to watch, like, and this stems a whole nother conversation, but if you go back and watch Prince, Morris Day and the Time, Michael Jackson, Parliament Funkadelic, Parliament Sly and the Family Stone, like D'Angelo and the Soultronics, like you watch them, like the performance was so crazy. And this is the time where if you perform with a backing track, you were a bozo. So you had 15 keyboard players on stage to recreate the sound you made in the system. Now it's different. You can press a button on a laptop and just have the drummers fill in, which is okay. But back then you had 4 background singers, you had a drummer, you had a guitar player, you had a bass player, you had horns, you had an auxiliary keyboardist, which is like the lead synth guy. Then you had like some bongos, then you had like a percussionist just to fill the stage out. So you had to know how to command the stage. Because there's a lot of shit going on.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of shit going on. So if you just stood in the middle, unless you were Diane Reeves or if you were like somebody like that who could just, Aretha Franklin, anybody like that who could just sit in the middle and just blow you out for an hour, God bless you. But for those who didn't have that talent, you had to know how to command and compose. You had to be your own composer. Prince would jam, and again, Prince is the highest standard you could think of, or just take it to maybe an even standard. You can go to like Morris Day and the Time. Morris Day and the Time, who came from Prince and Apollonia. Apollonia, I'm sorry, but that little group up there, the Minneapolis group, their funk type thing, and then so you can go to them, but every time they would perform, Morris Day wasn't the greatest singer, but he would know when to tell Jerome or Jesse Johnson to shut the fuck up. He'd be like, hey, shut the fuck up, and they quiet down, and then you just got the drummer playing, and then he'll sing his part, and then get the crowd going. Like that to me is a talent. Like I've been to so many shows where I've just like sat there and it be a big artist, some artist that you like, and I can feel his disconnect with his music. Like I could feel it.
Yeah.
Like there's been some shows where I've been to, like it's bigger artists now that I've been like, yeah, you have a band. Yeah, your band is cold. I know they're cold, but I don't hear y'all together. I hear your band. I don't hear y'all together. So that in itself is a talent. You may not be the best singer, but to connect with the music, to plug into the matrix,
Yeah.
And to be able to operate the machines
Exactly.
in Neo terms.
Yeah.
You operate the machines, you plug into the matrix, you operate the matrix, you could shut down this, you can bend walls, you can fly, instead of just being the pretty woman in the red dress, walking around being a program.
Yeah.
You're in the matrix,
Yeah.
you're doing it, but you're just the pretty girl in the red dress.
Yeah.
You're not the one. You're not the one that we came to see. You don't bend the horns. You don't make the drums fly. You don't.
I feel you.
So, yeah.
I feel like in today's day and age, too, with all this crazy electronic music that's coming out where
True.
It's a one-man band kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like on some levels you have to be very talented in the fact that if your music's good, you are kind of having to piece it all together. It's not like you bring one element to the table and then you've got these other guys that bring these other elements and you can kind of piece it.
Sure. When you talk about EDM music, that's a whole nother lane.
Yeah. And it's interesting because actually in that documentary too, there's a clip that Jim Morrison, they played, that it was recorded of him years and years and years ago, where he talks about how music is evolving, and he says, I think in the future there'll be some sort of one person thing using machines, and I'm not sure what form it will take, but it'll be some sort of one person thing using machines.
Yeah.
And he was totally right. It's actually it's cool, the song that Skrillex and the Doors put together, there's actually a piece of that conversation in the song they ended up doing in the little interlude or whatever of the song.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard that, it gave me like goosebumps because I was like, holy crap. Like, this guy knew what was going to happen.
Jim Morrison was it, man. The 28 Club.
He was a visionary.
Everybody in the 28 Club knew what was up.
What's the 28 Club?
It was 28 Club. So 28 Club is all the prolific artists that died at the age of 28 or before the age of 28.
Oh,
so,
I see.
Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison. There's a couple more I'm forgetting too.
Nirvana.
Kurt Cobain.
Kurt Cobain. I couldn't think of his name.
Kurt Cobain. So for all you smokers out there, you know that you're not supposed to keep a white lighter because at every single one of them, there's a white lighter been found on the crime scene. So, as Frank Ocean puts it, no white lighters until I fuck my 28th up. So, yeah, the 28 Club. That they knew they were visionaries.
Huh.
Something about that. It's just Amy Winehouse.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. So, yeah, but to make it all come together at the end, man, I think music. Pay attention to music.
Yeah.
Don't like music because it's cool to like music.
Exactly.
Pay attention. If you're believing in God, if you're believing in a bigger, higher power, or if you just want to wind it down to just simply music. Music is the key to everything. Music is the key to everything. When you walk, you're walking in rhythm. Your brain tells you left, right, left, right, left. It's a rhythm. It's a rhythm. You walk at a speed because you are your own metronome. Every word that you say is a note. Every word that you say, if you were to speak through auto-tune, pitch correction right now, every word you say is a note. Right? There's certain pitches and tones that dolphins give out to each other to communicate.
Yeah.
There's ways that drums, the earliest form of communication, percussion, the earliest form of the beating on your chest from apes, the earliest form of communication is all music. There's a video that I want you guys to watch. It's by Bobby McFerrin. If everybody knows who Bobby McFerrin is, he's the guy who sings "Don't Worry, Be Happy," despite if you think it's Bob Marley or not. It's not. It's Bobby McFerrin. Bobby McFerrin does this thing where he is on stage and he hops from one space to another, but sings a note while he does it.
Huh.
So when he hops from one space to
So
another,
the stage is like a keyboard almost?
it's like a keyboard. So eventually he stops singing and the crowd sings for him as he hops. Now he doesn't hop in the same order. He changes what he does, but the crowd is right there with him. So he's playing the crowd by the end of the video.
That's crazy.
And that just shows you how music connects us. And he's in a room full of college kids from all over the world. So like he plays this crowd And somehow, if you ever ask me how I know God is real, music is how I know God is real.
Yeah. It's like ingrained in our DNA.
It's ingrained in our DNA.
It's primal.
Yep, it's primal. It's the trap beats, even though how simplistic they are, and however, whatever, as soon as that 808 kick on, guess what? You're probably going to get hyped. Because it's the earliest stage of communication.
Head's going to be nodding, feet's going to be tapping.
The drums are the earliest stage of communication. Now, on the other end, what messages you're getting from the drums is a whole other thing. But it is an earliest stage of communication. If the aliens came down and said, show me your language, it would be music.
That's beautiful. That's cool. That's really awesome. One thing that I wanted to bring up with you as well is we were talking about it earlier, how your culture and music is so intertwined.
Yeah.
And actually something that, is a kind of a hot button topic right now, and we actually talked about this on Facebook briefly, and I kind of made a post about this, was the whole cultural appropriation thing.
Cultural appropriation. Okay.
And this is a whole nother can of worms, but so for example, if someone is how we were talking about kind of remixing and taking and piecing and whatever.
Yeah.
And there's definitely, that happens all the time in music. And I think that in today's society it's also happening with culture. People are taking pieces from other people's culture and trying to make it their own, or quote unquote appropriating it or whatever. And people are upset, people don't like it, whatever, and it's a big issue right now.
Absolutely.
And one thing that was kind of cool, on Facebook I made a post about it, and there was a massive argument in the comments, and one cool thing that you were like, let's talk about this later, and I was like that's such a CC thing to say, because he was like, I'm not gonna get stupid and misunderstand, have my words misunderstood on this post and get into an argument about something that we're not even disagreeing on.
Yeah. I'm just
exactly. But I thought this would be a cool place to kind of talk about that too.
Okay. So it is a tricky, blurred thing. Dusty, dirty, dingy line. Now, I will bring it from a broader perspective in terms of my opinion, because it's all opinion. At the end of the day, it's all opinion.
Yeah.
I think that we care more about cultural appropriation in this country more than any other country around the world. And there's context to that. And to be blunt and to be honest, I have a friend at work that I argue about this all the time. About culture, what is black culture, what is white culture, why isn't it an American culture, why is it Okay, so culture divvies from demographic. So you have Chinese culture, which is made of mostly Chinese people. You have Mexican culture, which is Mexican people. A demographic of what these people look like this, and they talk like this. Therefore, this is theirs. That's culture in its broadest form. American culture, yes, there's American culture. So when they say hip hop is American culture, not black culture. It's not race based. It's just where they are. I agree, but I disagree, because there's a subculture, and the subculture was created by. Subculture was brought upon when the uninclusion of a certain demographic to another demographic's culture. So when you tell me that hip hop isn't black culture, it's American culture, but 50 years ago it wasn't.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
What I'm saying? Not saying because 50 years ago hip hop wasn't a thing, but blues and rock and roll weren't American culture back then. It was strictly done by black people or people of that demographic. So now that you have Elvis Presley, which I'm sorry to Elvis Presley fans out there, I'm not the biggest Elvis Presley fan. For this argument, it's a blurred line. So what I think in this country we get hung up is the old saying, back then you didn't want me, now I'm hot, you all on me. So back then, as the Reverend Mike Jones would say, back then, America, the embodiment of America, was so anti-us to a point that it was a fault in us. Like, okay, well, big lips, fat asses, dance around jungle monkey music, it is what it is, right? That's not what we want. That's not what we promote. Michael Jackson was kept off MTV because he was too urban. You tell me Rock With You was too urban for MTV? So
urban is kind of a silly word too, because urban just means like city.
Yeah.
Like what?
What?
What do you want it? Rural?
So right. So Madonna wasn't urban.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
So anyway,
it's a silly thing to say.
It's an absolutely silly thing to say. So you get that, and you know what it's based in. So where I think black people, my people, get caught up is in like, oh, so it's the Elvis Presley thing. It's you take Chuck Berry's moves, you take Chuck Berry's guitar playing skills, you send your people in these black clubs, and you take it, you grab it, you make it your own, and don't mention us in it. No, that's our shit. So now, in an age of racial sensitivity, because this country, everybody's sensitive, and I grew up with white guys, I grew up with Asian kids, and I grew up with Mexican kids, so I understand, and I grew up with black kids too, in a black household, and I've had my racist experiences, and I've had my experiences where I was treated just like anybody else. But that gets into race and politics. But in terms of a culture thing, I do understand one day when I'm in the suburbs, white suburbs with mostly white kids, who maybe I'm their one out of 3 black friends that they have, right? But I see them wanting to be Nelly, wanting to be this, wanting to be that. But if I were ever, and their parents think it's cute, but if I were to ever come over with their daughter, it's a problem. Now, back then you didn't want me. Now I'm hot, you're all on me. So I get where the happens. You can be technical, you can be systematic all you want. Culture is this derivative of this, That is fine. That is fine when you're looking in the black and white terms of culture.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. If the world was such.
Exactly.
The world is not. There is no such thing as good guys and bad guys. There's only people. There's only guys and guys. So whether we bomb one country for doing one thing, they thought it was in their best interest for their people. That goes against our interests. There's no good guys and bad guys. So
just guys.
Just guys. So when we think of culture in the black and white terms of it's not black culture, it's not white culture, it's American culture. Sure, buddy, because we're in America, but you also have to understand that America is made up of different cultures.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think at the end of the day, in the sense of like Justin Timberlake got drugged on Twitter. Like, he never should have said what he should have said.
What did he say?
So, huge JT fan. Love JT.
I was about to say, because I love JT too, but I didn't keep up on this.
I think JT is cool. His music is fire. Even though
his albums are amazing. As pieces of work. Like, I can listen.
Timbaland and Pharrell.
Yeah.
Timbaland and Pharrell. Those Quincy Jones things.
I was actually going to bring up Pharrell earlier. I feel like Pharrell, people have no idea. They're like, oh, Pharrell, he's cool. He's a new artist. It's like, he has more credits.
In the game.
I think he has more credits on tracks than like
anybody right now.
Anybody.
Timbaland and Pharrell. Probably. Dr. Dre too. Swiss.
Yeah.
But Chad Hugo, first of all, before we talk about Pharrell, it's Chad Hugo, really, from the Neptunes. Him and Chad Hugo make up the Neptunes, and another guy, I forgot the third guy's name, but they make up the Neptunes, in which Chad Hugo was the brains. Pharrell was the eyes, the vision. Chad Hugo was the brains. But anyway, Google Chad Hugo, guys. So, but back to the whole like Justin Timberlake thing. There's an activist named Jesse Williams, who is half black and half white. He's actually on Grey's Anatomy, ladies, if you ever seen him. He got on the BET Awards, and basically they gave him an image award just for being the stand-up black guy, black model, guy who's just out in the community. Got up there and they were waiting on a warm acceptance speech from him. But he told everybody in that crowd, y'all need to get y'all shit together. There's no reason why we got all this money in here, all these cars, these jewelry, and this and this and this and this and this is happening. Wow.
In the black community.
In the black community. And while, and in the community, period.
Exactly.
That's so much, he was like, we have so much influence in what we say. If we were to stop making records right now, what would the music industry do? If we were to say, no, we're not signing, what would the music industry do that are owned by these older white men? What would they do? And what would their kids do? He was like, realize how much power we have. And realize that even though you talk about these cars and this money, they're putting you, single mentality, they put you out there for a single. They send you around, they tour you around, they spend all the money on you, and they want you to give it back. And before you know it, you're no longer hot. Ask I Love McConan. Everybody was going up on a Tuesday. Now it's Thursday. What's up? So he was saying they're using you like black gold. And it's been that way ever since. When are we going to be like, okay, we need to start controlling our own? Mm-hmm. Because from rock and roll, from Chuck Berry to Creed, there'd be no Creed without Chuck Berry.
Mm-hmm.
There'd be no Elvis without Chuck Berry. Country music, country bluegrass. Well, bluegrass came from blues. So where did blues come from? The slaves. So like he's like, you have to realize how much influence we have in culture, sports. You have to realize. So Justin Timberlake hops on. He was like, I feel so inspired by his speech. Totally right? Like I feel so inspired. Wow, right? So somebody goes, cool. Are you inspired enough to apologize for Janet Jackson? Because you haven't apologized to Janet Jackson yet. And by the way, he was talking about you. Talking about just now. I don't agree, because I do think that Justin Timberlake, and there are some, and this is just the blurred lines in me. No pun intended, Robin Thicke. These are just a lot. The me being raised in this in multiple different demographics. I do think there are some people, there's some kids who truly love our culture or the subculture in American culture of the hip hop, the black, the African American experience. I'll stop calling it that black culture. I'll call it the African American experience. That truly love it and that truly want to understand it and truly want to be around it and appreciate everything that it comes from. And they don't want to take it for their own. They don't. They just want to be a part of it. I think JT is one of them. Now, with that being said, there's other people who just feel otherwise, who are just like, bro, he was talking about you. Like, your face on this type of music, you are a grander Vanilla Ice. All you did was take what they already knew was good, but they couldn't march it into their next door neighbor's front lawn. They couldn't package it right. It wasn't the right package. But now that it looks like them, but sounds like us, they're okay with it. You put lipstick on a pig, it's still a pig. But people are going to be more accepting of a pig with lipstick because it's abnormal.
Yeah.
So, so just the same thing. Like, my friend brought up a great thing. He was just like, and I was defending JT, still defend JT because, it is what it is. But I will not defend JT's response. His response to them goes, oh, sweetheart, as soon as you realize that we're all the same, this world will be better. And they were like, you totally just missed the whole point of the speech. Totally just missed the whole point of the speech. He literally in the speech said, we are not the same. Not saying that we're not all human beings. And there's a lot of things in the greater white American culture that like we live in every day just because of just who we are and where we are, the Germans are brilliant, like just brilliant, beautiful people all around, you know what I'm saying? And there's things that have implemented the culture onto black culture, the negative and positive, that you can be like, without this isn't this. But for the sake of pop culture is a subculture of ours.
Yeah.
Who's the king of pop? Michael Jackson. So, like, you have to acknowledge that. The movie Get Out was about, people always think that Get Out was just like about straight racism. No. they tell you what it's really about. They tell you it's liberal racism. They tell you the fact that when he drove up and he asked the blind guy, kind of like, or the blind guy was telling him at the end of the movie, if you seen Get Out, why black people? He said, it's not black people. It's just cool to be black at the moment. It's not because, we are this. It's just because we've done so much of pop culture that it's cool to be us. If it was Chinese people, it would be cool to them.
Yeah, and actually it's interesting you said that, because I know, like, for example, in a lot of Asian culture right now, it's cool to speak English in your songs. It's cool to have American culture.
Spanish culture too.
Because, and it's because, we're in America, we're pumping out so much of the entertainment. We got Hollywood, we got so much music coming out of here.
Absolutely.
And English is uniting the world in a lot of ways with, the internet kind of coming out of here and all kind of, all the tech giants and all the stuff that's starting to rule the world. So English is becoming a uniting thing.
Right. So at the end of the day, and then you look up the white lens theory. White lens theory is good for you guys out there too.
What is it?
White lens theory.
White lens.
The world sees through a white lens. And if you look at the marketing in American, if you Google beautiful women right now, people, your first 2 pages are going to be white women. So, and that stems to a whole nother beauty clause thing. Why, when black women were like, why do black men date white women? Well, guess what? Guess who we grew up watching? Guess who we grew up watching? It's changing now.
Another interesting part of that too, though, is that in America, at least, white people make up the majority of the people. So it's kind of like, if you Google that, it's like you're just trying to market towards the majority.
The majority.
Exactly. Like, for example, I thought about this like so long ago. I was like, why are, like, they don't make black people Band-Aids. Like, all Band-Aids are like pinkish, peach colored because they're going for the mass market. They're going for the white people.
Right. Absolutely. Now, and the inverse to that, though, is that we are a melting pot.
For sure.
The underbelly of society, the non-consumer society, are the minorities. They are the minorities. Now, you may want to project your product to the majority. That's a smart business move. That's just business 101.
Exactly.
And people would say, well, in Africa, they market towards the Africans. They market towards the Indians. So, yes, they do. But Indians have Indian people. The Africans have African people, Nigerian people from that land. We have Chinese, Japanese, all over whatever. So
because we're so new.
Right. While I understand that the majority is you're trying to pitch it to white culture, white people, I understand. Great. I don't disagree with it at all. I also think it is stupid to continue to do that. It's not smart business wise. That's to continue to do that, because in a couple of years, white people are going to be the minority.
And I think some people are starting to realize that too. And even with Hispanic people are becoming a huge part of the culture as well.
So I swear we're gonna get back to music in a minute.
But no, it's cool though. But sorry, continue, because you were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna say, I get it. Like I said, you're marketing to white people. I get it. But to bring it back, but when it comes to music, it's different, and it's. I appreciate Adele. I appreciate Justin Timberlake. I appreciate those type of artists who say, Eminem, who say, you know what? I'm cool and all, but the only reason, not one of the major reasons why I'm cool is because I look like you.
Yeah.
Period. Is because I look like you. I can name 5 better female artists than Adele right now.
Oh, for sure.
Wider range. Write their own stuff. Jasmine Sullivan is amazing. Brandy is amazing. Brandy is the queen goddess. People don't know it, but Brandy is a queen goddess. Like I said, Jennifer Hudson is amazing. Range out the world.
For sure.
Right?
Shout out Jennifer Hudson. My friend is on a commercial right now with Jennifer Hudson.
Play the guitar.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
my friend Alex. Have you seen that
Awesome.
commercial?
Yes, my mom loves that commercial.
Yeah, that's my friend Alex. I'm having him on the podcast soon.
Shout out to Alex.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Range is amazing. Gospel singing. The Clark sisters. Range is amazing. You know, it can stand and just blow. Blow. Like Adele can just blow. But for some reason, and we know what the reason is, and it's not like an overtly racist thing. It's not.
And she's British, so it's really fun to listen to her talk.
Yeah, and it's not an overtly thing, like racist thing to say that the world likes Adele more because she looks like a lot of the more people out there. It's not racist to say that. Like, it's just truth. Facts. It's the facts. But it's the sad, incendiary feeling you get back to music and back to African American experience. When you say, well, damn, I do that way better than that. That's me. That's my shit. I do that, so what the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck? Really? Really? You know?
Yeah.
So, and then to combat the whole, like, you know, theory of serving the demographic, aiding the demographic, I get it. Again, I don't disagree with it at all. I think it's stupid because if that's so, then why do we promote Christmas so much when Islam is the largest growing religion in the world? That's
true. But we're in America.
We're in America. True, we're in America. But even in America, Islam is still growing faster than Christianity.
That's probably true.
So, like...
Yeah. It's part of the, you know... Yeah, exactly. I agree, for sure, that the marketing... I think that the marketing isn't necessarily like a conspiracy of everything.
I don't.
You know,
I don't.
It's just individual companies are kind of like, that's the way it's always been, so we're going to promote Christmas, and we make money off of Christmas.
That's true, yeah.
You know, and to kind of go back to, like you were saying, with JT, not giving credit where credit is due kind of thing.
Yeah.
What can people do to kind of... Let's say, for example, JT, he still wants to make the type of music that he wants to make. You know, Adele, she still wants to make that type of music. How can they do that in a way that's respectful to African American culture, black culture, whatever you want to call it?
The black experience.
Yeah, because that's what I think that's a big issue, right? Is people are like, yo, you literally ripped that off and didn't give us credit. But it's also kind of like, well, if they want to make that kind of music, are you just going to say like they can't even make it at all? Or do you just want the credit, or what is the?
I think.
What is the solution?
So how I would like to see it. Eminem is the perfect example. Mm-hmm. Even though JT has a different upbringing than Eminem. Mm-hmm. JT was raised around black people. Eminem was raised around black people, but different kind of black people. Eminem is very hip hop, and he's very molded and meshed into what hip hop is. And knowing he's self-aware of his position in hip hop, mm-hmm. He knows that coming from Detroit with D12, he's the only white guy in D12, and Dre and Interscope with Busta Rhymes and all that. He knows his position, so therefore. He stands for what hip-hop stands for. He takes elements of EPMD. He takes elements of Chuck D, Tupac, all these NWA, revolutionary hip-hop guys, Curtis Blow, all these revolutionary guys, MOP. He takes elements of that, and he lives in it. So when you ask him, I mean, it all boils down to personal and moral beliefs. So when he says, fuck Bush. You know what I'm saying? Fuck Trump. Fuck this. Like, I'm not doing this. Fuck that. Oh, you're not letting D12 in? You're not letting my friends in to this place? I'm not going. When you start doing that, when you become the culture and you submerge Beastie Boys, to say, everybody was like, well, Beastie Boys are just Jewish kids from Queens. But Beastie Boys were with Russell Simmons and Run Simmons. They were with... oh my God! Why am I forgetting? Rick Rubin. Rick Rubin is the perfect example of a white guy assimilating to the African American experience and still keeping his stance on what it is to him. Now, when you get to JT, or when you get to, and I'm not saying like JT in particular, but when you get, what we get caught up is like, everybody want to be black till it's time to be black.
Mm-hmm. Everybody
want to be that till it's time to be black. Like,
yeah, until you're, until you're pulled over by a cop, right? Or until you're.
Until, what do you think about police brutality? What do you think about this? What do you think about? Now that y'all ain't got shit to say.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all want to be a part of it, but when they ask you to be a part of it, you ain't got shit to say.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying JT, because I know he's taking a couple of stances on, whatever, however, and that's why I'm riding with him till I'm dead and buried. But at the same time, the general consensus is that's just like walking into a frat party, UGA, and hearing Future, hearing Wayne the whole time, seeing white kids dab, whatever the hell is popular nowadays.
Yeah.
And then you shout out, "What have y'all done for the for Black Lives Matter?" And they look at you like you're stupid. So, that's where I don't get hung up in that, because I understand.
Yeah.
Because I was blessed and fortunate to know, like, okay, well, it's not as black and white as we make it seem. I know that, and I was taught that. I grew up, my best friends, white friends, and growing up in their households. Now, I've had debates with their parents as an adult. Definitely had debates with parents with their adult, but it doesn't change the relationship that I've had with them on an individual level. So I get it. But that's where a lot of people get hung up as. Everybody wants to be black until it's time to be black. So that's where Eminem fits in with us.
Gotcha.
It's like, oh, you really riding with us.
Yeah, it's like you said, if they can't come, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm not trying to get in. Like, JT, even though he has spoken out police brutality and things like that, and I think the major thing that a lot of people that know JT's, like the whole Super Bowl thing with Janet Jackson and wardrobe malfunction and everything like that, like, JT knew that was supposed to happen. Like, not the wardrobe malfunction, but he knew that part of the dance was supposed to happen. So when MTV came knocking on the door looking for somebody to put the blame on, guess who gets the blame? Janet Jackson. Not JT. JT's flourishing. When was the last time you heard of a successful Janet Jackson album?
Yeah.
Flourishing. And Janet Jackson was the legend. JT had one album. Janet Jackson was legend. But they saw him, and I'm saying the masses or however, but the corporate market, the paging to the demographic, they saw him as the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white boy that could do no wrong. So they blackballed JT and Janet Jackson from doing any more MTV Super Bowl performances or whatever, or Pepsi Super Bowl performances. But then they shuffle JT to the Grammys. They shuffle him to this way, that way.
Why do you think that there was that kind of conspiring to, like you were saying, they had to put the blame on somebody?
Yeah.
What was it about? I mean, obviously, you said that was part of the dance, and was it mutual? Both of them knew that was going to happen?
But they didn't know that was going to, her titty was going to flop out. But they knew that she was supposed to rip a piece of her bra off. They both knew.
Okay.
So, that was discussed. They knew it was rehearsed.
Gotcha. And even the Super Bowl knew that?
I don't think the Super Bowl knew that, though.
Okay, gotcha. Because that's the thing is, they've got to, I guess, put the blame on someone. But I was going to say, to play devil's advocate here, there are also some times where, for example, a black artist or athlete or whoever, like, for example, Chris Brown, he recovered from a kind of crazy big thing, but it wasn't like he got blackballed. Right.
But Chris Brown's different. And I'll tell you why Chris Brown's different. Chris Brown will never rise back up in terms of the mass appeal. Chris Brown will never get back up to Run It Chris Brown.
Yeah.
Or doing a Michael Jackson tribute Chris Brown.
Yeah. I agree.
He'll never rise back up to that. And you know what brought Chris Brown back to life? Going back to his roots. He started doing songs with Tyga. You took Chris Brown at the time, who could have possibly, if he had never beat Rihanna, and that was horrible, never beat Rihanna, Chris Brown could have reached out and touched Michael Jackson on a song, could have reached out and touched Stevie Wonder. He could have been it in the public eye and everything like that. So after that happens, he goes back to his roots. He gets Kevin McCall, he gets Tyga, and Deuces comes out. And now it's the rise of the social media age. So now the young college kids are growing up with Chris Brown, and they're realizing, like, this is kind of cool. Like, this is a good song. So he rides that momentum. Now, again, he does public apologies. He does all those things, but he's still always going to be patched with that.
Yeah.
So, again, the two situations are different. You know, you've got Janet Jackson ripping off a boob on national TV, whatever, right? That happens. Janet Jackson's career basically plummets from that. Of course, she gets married. Things like that happen, you know.
Yeah.
But then you've got Chris Brown, who beats the shit out of his girlfriend. That's different.
And a famous girlfriend.
Famous girlfriend.
And girlfriend flourishes.
Girlfriend flourishes because her marketing team was super smart. Put on these dark clothes. Change your you're unapologetic now. You're rated R now. This changed you.
Yeah. They're
super smart off of that.
Yeah.
So Chris Brown will never rise to Justin Timberlake stardom. Never. Just because of me being Rihanna. That has nothing to do with him being black or white. He'll just never rise.
He's got that tarnish on his name.
So Chris Brown's recovered, but recovered just enough to be here and to be a name we have to focus on, that we pay attention to. Now, Chris Brown will probably never perform in front of 2 million like Michael Jackson, but JT will.
Gotcha.
At one point, JT will. You know, so he recovered. He fixed his. He rode around on a dummy tire for a little bit, got it fixed, and now he's good. But he never graduated to a car that tires can't be blown out.
Yeah.
There's nothing that JT can do to blow up. Nothing. The only thing that JT could do, other than beat a girl or kill somebody, which could be one and the same, ask OJ. Only thing JT could do to change public perception is to pit one side against the other. And that's why the luxury of being a white person comes in, where you can ride that line. Pharrell don't have that luxury. Pharrell tried that All Lives Matter shit, and black people said, take your ass on somewhere. And now he's trying to come back. Pharrell tried that shit. You ain't too big to get away from it. LeBron didn't try it. LeBron was smart about it. LeBron said, oh no, racism is still a thing. Just like Pharrell said, this racism is still a thing. But Justin Timberlake has that where he can ride both lines.
I feel you.
I don't really have a say in this.
Yeah.
Because black people aren't looking at JT for something to say.
That was what was funny about Lil Wayne on TV. He said that one of the most ignorant things.
Yeah. Like,
he was just like, I've never experienced it, and I'm really rich, so I don't think racism exists, and I don't have nothing else to say about it.
But then if you go back in Lil Wayne's catalog, he's got Georgia Bush. He's got all these songs that talk about
the Carter 1 and the Carter 2, like
that talk about racism. And then he gets on stage 6 months prior. It was like, Black Lives Matter. Sit down somewhere. Because now you're trying to teeter that line, and now we're like, and especially Twitter's demographic is mostly black. Twitter's demographic is like 70-some% black.
Is it really?
All the you got to read their numbers. The retweets, and the highest numbers of retweets, things like that, come from black profiles. So like the whole thing of like Black Twitter, things like that. Yeah, that's like,
it's a real thing.
It's a real thing.
For sure.
It's a real thing.
And like there's a lot of stuff where comedians I've heard, or art writers for shows and stuff, will like scour quote unquote Black Twitter, trying to find stuff and steal it, take it, package it, rebrand it as whatever else.
That's Nintendo.
Yeah.
Nintendo was about to get in trouble for that.
Really?
Yeah. So there's that meme, the Think meme.
Yeah, the little.
Yeah.
They had Mario doing that. Yeah.
They almost got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
They
That's interesting. So to kind of go back for a second about that like article that I posted about the whole culture appropriation thing, one of the things that like was in that article that was kind of silly was like, for example, the hairstyle thing, you know, and one argument that I would kind of propose is for hairstyle, it's a creative thing, it's an invention, right? And to kind of be like, you can't do this,
right?
Because I did it first is kind of silly. For example, there was that video of the girl who was chasing around some white kid with dreads on campus with scissors, saying that she was going to cut him off or whatever.
It's ridiculous.
But it's silly because the Vikings used to have dreads too.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And they were like Nordic people. Like
it's ridiculous.
And so I think where the validity, like all the stuff that you were just talking about, I totally 100% agree with, because you're right. There's a luxury that some people have that other people don't, and they take advantage of that luxury. And the thing I think where a lot of white people fall off is when you start taking that to an extreme of you can't wear your hair in braids because black people do that. You can't wear your hair in dreads because black people do that.
I don't
You can't,
agree.
you know, whatever. And I think that that's where, you know, a lot of people are just going to say this whole culture appropriation thing in total, the whole thing, I'm going to write it off.
It's ridiculous,
Because you're just mad because your invention is being used by someone else. But what have white people done? You use the internet, you use Microsoft products, that was invented by a white person. Are you going to cry culture appropriation? Yeah. Steve Jobs invented Apple and you all have iPhones. You know, that's culture appropriation on white culture. You know, you can get to that extreme and be totally silly with it, and that's not the argument I'm making by any means. But I think that's where a lot of people will fall off that bandwagon and not realize. Yeah. And you know, this whole systemic racism, that's like a hot word right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think it's almost kind of lost its meaning a little bit because it's so overused.
It has.
But I think
that's... Because there's a lot of individualism within certain situations. And if it's down, some facts are undeniable, but...
Exactly. And everyone wants to be so PC that then you've got white people that are taking it to such an extreme that they're policing the actions of other white people, saying it's offensive to black people, and black people are like, dude, I don't give a shit.
Right.
And so that's where...
That's what Get Out is about.
Liberal
racism.
Exactly. And this whole just crazy PC culture on... I mean, it seems like it's stemming from college campuses.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody's trying to find themselves and find a position in the world. And
there's not enough, you know, real crisis that's happening, so they're kind of trying to seek it out, I feel like. You know, there's nothing, you know, we're not getting attacked by wild animals anymore. We live in the 21st century, and so what is that thing? What is my fight or flight? I'm hurt by your words, I'm hurt by what you're saying, and I'm trying to combat that or whatever. And I think that rational people tend to look at that as being something very silly. Yeah. And I think that was where especially that article that I posted that was like giving lots of examples, some valid, some very invalid in a lot of ways. But I agree 100% with what you're saying, and that there's something to be said about that, you know, like, and I think that people listening to this will realize that.
Yeah, like, look, you want to wear dreads, white boy, wear dreads. That's cool. If that's what you want to do. I think if you want to scale it down to what people are trying to say in a less grandiose form and just kind of just put it in perception for everybody. White boy, wear your dreads. But don't say you got them because you're a fan of the Vikings. That's what it scales down to.
Yeah, I got you. So the intent behind it.
Yeah, like...
And own up to it.
Like, you thought Bob Marley was cool. That's all we want. I mean, that's all I would want. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and at the same time, I really don't care for validity. Like, I don't care. Like, you know, do what you got to do to make you feel happy. If you got your dreads, you rock your dreads. If you got cornrows, you do it. Do it to the fullest of your ability. But at the same time, I better not catch your ass at a Trump rally.
Yep, I feel you. So it's like you don't take the positive things about black culture and take them as your own, and then turn around behind your back and still generalize all black people as thugs, as drug dealers, as people that are going to hurt you or whatever.
Absolutely.
And I totally agree with that 100%.
And that's all it boils down to me. It's just like I said, man, like I think the whole like the hair thing, I think that's like I think it's silly. I think we have way more
it's bigger issues.
It's bigger
fish to
issues.
fry.
Bigger fish to fry. But at the same time, I think it's incendiary. Like I think it's like it burns because Gucci, you know what I'm saying, like Gucci will have, or whoever the designer is, will call cornrows like a whole different other thing. And then you'll be like,
nah, it's cornrows.
Yeah, we've been doing that. And then like I read an article today, it was like things you didn't know you could make with a cast iron skillet. And I was just like, yes, we did. Because my mom fried.
My mom's doing that for
my
years.
mom's been doing that for years.
Yeah.
But they push it and people are like, oh, like I never knew.
Wow, it's so trendy.
Right. So like, you know what I'm saying? And that gets in the argument of gentrification, you know, how like Harlem is historically black. There's a statue of Frederick Douglass at like it's historically black. You can't argue that Harlem isn't. They moved all the black people from Lower East Side Manhattan to Harlem.
For sure.
It's historically black. But now gentrification has moved a lot of the white kids to Harlem. Like I went to Harlem to visit a good friend, David Park. You remember David Park? Yeah. Went to go visit him, and he was like, a year ago I couldn't stand out here at 5 o'clock in the morning. And where are we right now? 5 o'clock in the morning on the block. And he was like, it's just one of those things. Like that's the common feeling that the African American experience gets. Like everything that we do, which again, I will repeat it over and over again. I don't agree with all of it. I definitely don't.
Because everyone's an individual. You can't just box it.
Right, you can't box them in. Right.
The human brain wants to box people into boxes. People. Exactly, because then you don't have to think about it.
Like it's grouping.
Black people are this, so I believe this about it. Right. And all black people are the same.
And it's grouping. It's just grouping. Everybody wants to group numbers. Everybody wants to group people together.
And group yourself into things too.
Yeah, everybody wants to be a part of something. So, you know, I don't think that it's just like all malintent, like that a kid wants to, you know, dab or like, you know what I'm saying, do that, you know, do it. It makes me laugh. It makes me happy. But just don't, like, when, you know, don't talk. Like, growing up, I had, like, a couple of my friends, like, parents who were younger at the time. They were maybe, like, in their late 30s. And I was, like, maybe 9 or 10. And I would go over their house and, you know, they grew up in a lot of the culture. They grew up in the early stages of hip-hop. So Pac, Big, all stuff like that. So they were doing that, and they were talking certain ways and hanging out and doing things and, you know, kind of blacking it up a little bit, you know what I'm saying?
Blacking it up because you were there?
Because I was there, and they thought it would be cool to do so. You know what I'm saying? Like, they thought it would be cool to do so. But then, like, we get older, we go to high school, and if their daughter dates a black guy, it's a problem.
I feel you.
So that's just where the hang up is, like, for me personally, is like, do, dab, dread, all that shit. Do it to the fullest of you. But when something happens, don't just jump shit. Just don't just be like,
I'm not a part of this.
I'm not a part of this. Well, you are, because you chose to be a part of it.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good place to wrap this up, man. We've been going for a while. We're over 2 hours, bro.
Jesus, who's gonna listen to this?
Dude, somebody will. People are, surprisingly.
Jesus.
That's the thing, man. Is like I'm a huge fan of super long podcasts. So like, I find myself. The cool thing about the podcast app is it saves your spot. So like, when I'm driving, I'll listen to a portion of it, and then when I get out of the car, I pause it. And when I come back, I get to it. Or when I'm cooking or whatever, I listen to it. When I'm, you know, whatever. Whenever my hands are busy, I'll throw in the podcast. I like listening to long podcasts. Awesome.
So I had a good time, man.
Dude, I feel like that was a good place to wrap it. As far as Anything else you want to like promote or
musically,
shout
man?
out?
Musically, I got some projects coming up, man. Like soon, like summer projects,
Nice.
summer singles. I got some shows coming up. I'll really release the dates soon. Whenever we solidify the band, make sure the band can come. But they're going down at least 2 this summer. Some singles coming out, some projects. Got some surprise projects too. It's gonna be really dope. And I don't know who's looking for a surprise from your boy, but like I feel like I'm surprising a lot of people when I'll do this. So a lot of good things. Shout out, Cashmere Chase, the Functioning Alcoholics Collective, even though I don't drink. And I'm a part of the collective. I don't know how I ended up in that collective.
Because you're functioning.
Because I'm functioning, right? Because I'm functioning. I'm the DD. So
That's a good idea.
I'm the DD of the Functioning Alcoholics crew. Midwest, shout out to you, bro. Shout out Bermuda. Shout out, just Gravity, the band, everybody. You know what I'm saying? It's
Nice.
It's gonna be a fun year. I can't wait.
So if people want to follow you, SoundCloud, is that the best place to find your music, or where?
SoundCloud / Cohan Scott, my last name SCOTT, Scott SCOTT. That's my SoundCloud. My Bandcamp is Cohan Cohan.bandcamp.com. Check me out there. There's a lot of artsy stuff on there too. My Instagram is my first name and my last name, Cohan Scott. Facebook, if you want to follow me, it's Cohan. I have an artist page set up. So yeah, Twitter, Cohan Scott. I have a lot of interesting retweets and thoughts. If you guys want to follow those, a lot of music conversations. So yeah, want to come see me, man? I'll definitely.
If you dig this podcast, obviously, if you listen this far, you're into the whole music discussion.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So I'll definitely give some more stuff to Andrew so you can kind of like promote if you guys want to come out and watch the show.
For sure.
Should be good, man.
Yeah, keep it locked.
Shout out Meal Prep Poppy too.
There we go, Meal Prep Poppy.
My boy Cash.
Episode 1 of the Andrew Deitch podcast there, Meal Prep
my
Poppy.
man Cash, yeah. So yeah.
For sure.
Wool Brothers, all that stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Chad.
Yeah, Wool Brothers. Hey.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, dude, this was really fun.
All right, thanks, man, for having me on, man.
Of course.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. See you later. Boom. That was awesome. I really want to thank CC for being on the podcast. He's an awesome dude, for sure. I learned a lot from our conversation, and it was definitely one of the most fun podcasts that I've done yet. Make sure you go follow him on SoundCloud and Bandcamp and all the stuff that he just mentioned to check out his music. And as soon as his new projects and shows drop, as soon as those are announced, I will repost them and share them on social media so you guys can stay updated. As always, if you want to support the podcast, best way to do that is go to the podcast app if you have an iPhone. I really need some more 5-star reviews. I haven't gotten any new reviews at all this week, except for today. Today I got a review because I asked someone in particular to make a review. But in the past week, I have not gotten a single 5-star review. And I think it's probably this whole mob mentality that, I'm asking everyone for a review. So, I don't need to do it because someone else is probably going to do it. But, hey, don't think of it like that. I'm asking you. Yes, you sitting there listening to my voice right now. Go to the iTunes store and rate my podcast 5 stars. That would be tremendous. I really, really, really need more reviews, and you guys rock. But if you want to follow me, best way to do that is to go to my website, andrewdeitch.com. That's Andrew, DEITSCH.com. You can find links to all my stuff. Lots of great content going up on my podcast Instagram page, and that is at AD Podcast. So make sure to check me out there. Posting a lot of cool stuff. Lots of little promo videos and whatever. All right, episode 7 is up next with motivational speaker, entrepreneur, social media influencer, creator, and digital marketer, Morgan J. Ingram. Morgan discovered his passion of speaking a few years ago, and he has not stopped chasing that dream ever since. And now he's being paid to speak at tons of events all around the country. And in this episode, we talked about his previous experience as a professional video gamer, how he got into public speaking, his hilarious stories of some of his first speaking gigs, And at the end, he gave us a taste of what some of his paid speeches sound like. So this was an awesome episode. You don't want to miss it. I'll be uploading that very soon. That's it. I'm done. I am going to upload this podcast and go to bed. Thank you guys so much for listening. Y'all are the best. And I'll talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.